An AFT poll found that while 75% of teachers supported the new standards, only 27% said that their district had provided them with the tools and resources necessary to teach to them. So these standards are different. They're more rigorous, they are internationally benchmarked, they are focused and cohesive. What do teachers need to do differently? And what does Common Core instruction look like? And where do you see it happening?
What we as teachers need to do differently is learn what our part is, and that means what the standards are at our grade level. Take, for example, 5th grade. I leave multiplication and division, and then I get into proportional reasoning in the 6th grade, starting through those middle areas. A lot of those things have been pushed down from the 9th grade into 7th and 8th grade. So we need to be very familiar with the standards and our part of the standards and the focus at each grade level. I have a concept, and I know there's some procedure along with that concept. I'm going to start developing and giving a balance to concept and procedure. We do a lot of this with the course that you talked about through AFT's Thinking Mathematics. It is an incredible course, and I use it every day, even in my own classroom.
You echoed President Weingarten's call for a moratorium on the penalties given to schools based on results of the California state tests. What led you to that position, and what ways are parents in California advocating for it?
It's a long stretch of the imagination to say that every single school district in the entire state of California, 6.5 million children who have to take these computer-based tests are ready. I don't think that's the case. So there's a question of how that's going to happen. And then also, I think there are student records privacy concerns that parents also have, knowing that the scope of what is being collected is much more than simply just test scores, but could be disciplinary records, behavioral kinds of things. So also the fact that there's a 12-week sort of testing period. I mean, that's 3 months. So 3 months out of a 9-month school year devoted to testing. And you know, you see the logistical problems of having to test 6.5 million children in the entire state of California. So I think those are some things that really worry us.
What structures have been put in place for educators in your local area to support implementation of the Common Core?
We were fortunate enough within our district as well to have teachers who, through the American Federation of Teachers, did work with the writers of the Common Core. So fortunately, we did have some built-in expertise, but they're still being assessed based on the old assessments. Wow. And it was a lot to try to get our colleagues to buy into this implementation process, knowing that they're held accountable to assessments that no longer align. We also then found that our curriculum didn't necessarily, our textbooks, I should say, and resources didn't necessarily align to the standards either. Wow. That was a learning process for us. I will say we've gotten better as we've gone, and we certainly listened to our colleagues' feedback as we were providing the training for them, because they know what they need, and we listened and wanted to provide the resources necessary. All of us who have been in the classroom know you don't get great at something the first year through. We really need the time to understand what the standards are asking of the students, what strategies need to be used for implementation, how are we going to differentiate the instruction to help the students meet those standards, and they're rigorous, and we want them to be, but we need time to be able to implement them well and be successful.
What are the strengths and weaknesses of the new assessments that are aligned to the Common Core standards?
You're talking a limited amount of time to do a sampling of a whole domain, a whole grade level of a subject,
Yeah.
And that's quite a bit in a very short time. So some things are going to be lost. It's best if it's curriculum embedded. It isn't something you add on to teaching the low-level skills and facts. It's a means of imparting those skills and knowledge also. And so it shouldn't be something that's done in addition to your regular instruction. It's part of it, and so on. So there's something really lacking in preparation of teachers, and so big answer, professional development is incredibly important.
It is all connected when you talk about the high quality assessments and project-based learning and knowing how to advocate for that, and then making sure that our teacher preparation programs are embedding that in their work. We are connecting this work in every way possible, and we need to. What arguments do you use with your legislative colleagues and constituents when advocating for the importance of the Common Core state standards?
I think the results indicate that our current system has failed us in that we have tried to apply one size fits all. And we are not, automobiles going through an assembly line, getting tweaked here, getting bent here, putting a part there. And we need to be aware of what we're learning along the way. We gave tests, but then I asked the principal, well, I'd like to see how my students did. Well, we don't do that. So there was no meaningful looking at the results of our teaching. So we have a lot of work to do. As far as trying to get them to cooperate, I really talk about bipartisanship.
When you're with constituents or your colleagues, is it a hard sell?
Well, they're reform fatigued, testing fatigued.
True enough.
The charter schools in Ohio have failed. Generations of students have not been educated.
Ouch.
And millions of dollars have been wasted and thrown out the door. And they need to take an honest look at the results. Need to take an honest look at where we're going in education.
What is that most important step we can all take to ensure the Common Core state standards are implemented well?
That parents are incredible partners, willing to be there, willing to, do what it takes to get that spark back into kids' eyes, to move away from some of the worksheets, because I don't think anyone ever got joy from filling out a worksheet.
It means a deeper dive into what you're doing so that students have the ability to apply the learning, not just saying there's a computational thing that's going on here.
Good formative assessment requires good, rich evidence, which you get from seeing student work, good feedback, which you couldn't provide without seeing student work.
Work together in creating good quality common assessments, formative assessments, sharing those techniques, opening our classrooms to each other so we can learn from each other.
We need to instill confidence in this next move. We've got to get this one right, folks. We really have to get it right, and we can get it right with your voices.
Thank you all for the insightful discussion. Can we give our panelists a round of applause, please? Thank you.